Everything is possible, but not for everybody. Only for those who are willing to believe when there's no evidence. Only for those who are ready to move when fear is screaming louder than faith. You don't get results first, you get belief first. Before anything changes in your life, something has to change in your mind. If you keep seeing yourself as limited, broken, or behind, your life will keep producing limitation, struggle, and delay. But the moment you decide that your current situation is not your final destination, something powerful shifts inside you. The world does not reward potential, it rewards execution. And execution begins with belief. You don't need permission to believe in yourself. You don't need approval to dream bigger. Everything you admire in this world once lived in someone's imagination before it became reality. Too many people are trapped by their past. Walking around like yesterday has authority over today. Listen to me closely. Your mistakes did not cancel your purpose. Your failures did not erase your future. What happened to you was an event, not an identity. You are not what you did. You are what you decide to become. Some of you are still apologizing for a version of yourself that no longer exists. Let it go. Growth requires release. You cannot grab tomorrow while holding on to yesterday. Everything is possible when you stop letting old pain dictate new decisions. I've learned that talent will open doors, but hunger will keep them open. When you're hungry, excuses sound weak. When you're hungry, comfort feels dangerous. When you're hungry, average becomes unacceptable. You can't want success casually and expect uncommon results. You gotta want it with every fiber of your being. Want it on days you're tired. Want it when nobody is clapping. Want it when progress feels slow and results feel distant. Because everything is possible when desire turns into obsession and effort becomes non-negotiable. Let me be real with you. That motivation is temporary. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel confident. You won't always feel ready. But discipline doesn't care about feelings. Discipline says, I will show up anyway. Discipline says, I will do what needs to be done, even when I don't feel like it. The people who win in life are not the most motivated. They are the most disciplined. They move even when it hurts. They stay consistent even when progress is invisible. Everything is possible when you build habits that work for you, even when your emotions work against you. Pain is not your enemy. Pain's your teacher. Pressure is not here to break you. It's here to reveal you. If you're uncomfortable right now, that means growth is happening. If you're struggling right now, that means you're being stretched for something bigger. Stop running from pain. Stop asking why it's hard. Greatness demands discomfort. Transformation requires pressure. Everything is possible when you stop asking for an easy life and start asking to become a stronger person. Pay attention to your environment. Not everyone around you wants to see you win. Some people are comfortable staying small, and your growth makes them uncomfortable. You don't need to explain your vision to people who benefit from you staying the same. Protect your focus. Protect your energy. Protect your dreams. Everything is possible when you surround yourself with people who challenge you, not people who tolerate mediocrity. Dreams don't move because you talked about them. Dreams move because you work for them. Intention without action is self-deception. Planning without execution is procrastination wearing a disguise. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting to feel ready. Ready is a decision, not a feeling. Everything is possible when your actions start matching your words and your work starts matching your goals. 2026 is not here to play with you. This year will either expose your excuses or reward your discipline. Decide right now that you are done doubting yourself. Decide that quitting is no longer an option. Decide that no matter how many times you fall, you will get back up stronger, wiser, and more determined. Everything is possible when you refuse to give up on yourself, when you outwork your fear, and when you stay committed long after the excitement fades. This is your moment. Stand up, lock in, and prove to yourself that everything really is possible. Everything starts with belief, whether you recognize it or not. Long before results show up in your life, long before success becomes visible to the world, belief is already at work behind the scene, quietly shaping every decision you make, every risk you take, and every excuse you accept. Belief is the unseen force that determines how high you aim, how long you persist, and how quickly you quit when things get uncomfortable. You may think you are waiting on opportunity, resources, or timing, But the truth is that most people are waiting on belief. They are waiting to feel confident before they act, waiting to feel ready before they commit, waiting for proof before they trust themselves. But belief does not wait for proof. Belief moves first, and proof follows later. The life you are living right now is a reflection of what you believe is possible for you. Not what you say you believe, not what you post online, not what you tell other people, but what you truly believe deep down when nobody is watching. If you believe you are limited, your actions will stay small. If you believe success is for other people, you will subconsciously sabotage your own progress. If you believe failure defines you, you will avoid challenges that could change your life. Belief always reveals itself through behavior. You cannot hide it. It shows up in the risks you avoid, the standards you tolerate, and the goals you never fully pursue. Most people don't lack ability. They lack belief. They are more capable than they realize, more talented than they admit, and more resilient than they give themselves credit for. But somewhere along the way, life convinced them to shrink. A failure embarrassed them. A rejection wounded them. A voice of doubt, criticism, or comparison slowly rewrote the story they told themselves. Over time, that voice became familiar, and familiarity turned into acceptance. They stopped questioning the limits placed on them and started living inside them. Not because they had to, but because they believed those limits were real. Belief is powerful because it doesn't just influence what you think. It controls what you attempt. You will never outperform your self-image. If you see yourself as average, you will unconsciously create an average life. If you see yourself as unworthy, you will settle for less than you deserve. If you see yourself as capable of growth, improvement, and greatness, you will start acting in ways that align with that vision, even when you feel afraid. Fear does not disappear when belief appears. Fear and belief often exist at the same time. The difference is that belief gives you the courage to move forward anyway. Every breakthrough in history began as a belief that sounded unreasonable to someone else. Every innovation, every movement, every comeback story was once dismissed as unrealistic, impractical, or impossible. The people who changed the world were not always the smartest or the most privileged. They were the ones who refused to let other people's doubts define their own expectations. They trusted a vision that only they could see. They held on to belief during seasons when nothing around them supported it. They kept moving when results were slow and recognition was absent. That is the level of belief required to create something meaningful. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking belief means confidence at all times. It does not. Belief is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision to act in spite of doubt. There will be days when you question yourself, days when the goal feels too big, days when your past whispers that you are not good enough. Those moments do not mean you lack belief. They are simply invitations to strengthen it. Belief grows through action. Every small step you take in the direction of your goals reinforces the idea that you are capable. Every time you show up when it's hard, belief deepens. Every time you keep going when quitting will be easier, belief becomes unshakable. You cannot borrow belief from other people. Motivation can inspire you temporarily, but belief must be built internally. No speech, no video, no applause can replace the quiet decision you make when you are alone, deciding whether to try again or give up. That decision, repeated consistently, shapes your future. People who win in life are not always the ones with the loudest support systems. They are the ones who learn how to believe in themselves when no one else did. They learn how to validate their own vision when the world was silent. Belief also determines how you interpret failure. When you lack belief, failure feels final. It feels like confirmation that you were never meant to succeed. But when you have belief, failure becomes feedback. It becomes information. It becomes part of the process. You stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what can this teach me? That shift changes everything. Instead of retreating, you adjust. Instead of quitting, you refine. Belief gives you the patience to stay in the game long enough to. There are people with less talent than you, fewer resources than you, and fewer opportunities than you who are further ahead simply because they believe longer. They believed when progress was invisible. They believed when support disappeared. They believed when results were slow and the work felt repetitive. Belief kept them consistent, and consistency compounded over time. Most people quit too early, not because the goal is impossible, but because their belief ran out before the results arrived. Your belief also shapes your standards. You will only demand from yourself what you believe you are capable of sustaining. If you believe you are disciplined, you will create disciplined habits. If you believe you are resilient, you will push through adversity. If you believe you deserve better, you will stop accepting less. Standards are not about perfection. They are about alignment. They are about bringing your actions into agreement with the future you claim you want. Belief is the bridge between intention and execution. It is important to understand that belief must be protected. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Doubt is contagious, and so is belief. The people you listen to, the content you consume, and the conversations you engage in either strengthen or weaken your belief over time. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, limitation, and fear, your belief will erode slowly, often without you noticing. Protecting your belief is not arrogance. It is survival. You cannot build a powerful future while feeding on disempowering thoughts. Belief requires patience because reality does not change overnight. Growth is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. Seeds grow underground long before they break the surface. In the same way, your efforts are working even when you cannot see immediate results. Lack of visible progress does not mean lack of progress. Belief allows you to stay committed during these quiet seasons. It allows you to trust the process when the process feels slow. Without belief, impatience turns into frustration, and frustration turns into quitting. At some point, you must stop asking for permission to believe in yourself. You do not need approval from your past, validation from society, or agreement from people who have never walked your path. Your life is your responsibility. Your future is your assignment. Belief is a choice you make daily, sometimes hourly, sometimes moment by moment. It is the choice to speak to yourself with encouragement instead of criticism. It is the choice to see setbacks as temporary instead of permanent. It is the choice to keep going when stopping would be easier. Everything you want in life is on the other side of belief. Not blind belief, not unrealistic belief, but committed belief. The kind that shows up in your actions, your habits, and your persistence. Belief that wakes you up early and keeps you focused late. Belief that pushes you to learn, improve, and stretch beyond your comfort zone. Belief that reminds you who you are becoming, not just who you have been. When belief becomes strong enough, behavior changes naturally. You stop forcing discipline and start living it. You stop chasing motivation and start relying on consistency. You stop looking for shortcuts and start respecting the process. This is when everything begins to shift. Opportunities appear because you are prepared. Confidence grows because you have evidence from your own effort. Momentum builds because you refuse to quit. Everything truly starts with belief. Not belief in luck, not belief in circumstances, not belief in other people, but belief in your ability to grow, adapt, and persist. Once you believe that, no obstacle can permanently stop you. Delays may slow you down, setbacks may challenge you, and fear may test you, but none of them can defeat you unless you allow belief to disappear. Hold on to it, strengthen it, act on it. Because the moment you fully believe, the impossible begins to move in your direction. Your past does not disqualify you. No matter how heavy it is, no matter how loud it speaks, no matter how often it tries to remind you of who you used to be. The problem is not that the past happened. The problem is that too many people keep living there. They wake up every day dragging old mistakes into new opportunities, carrying yesterday's failures into today's decision, and allowing memories of pain to control future possibilities. What happened before today may explain you, but it does not define you unless you give it permission. And the moment you understand that, real freedom begins. Some of you are still punishing yourselves for things you did when you didn't know better. You're holding yourself to a sentence that life never actually gave you. You made a mistake, but you treated it like a lifetime identity. You failed once, and you decided that failure is who you are. You trusted the wrong people, chose the wrong path, wasted time, missed chances, and now you believe that disqualifies you from success, happiness, or purpose. But growth requires honesty, and the honest truth is this. Every strong person you admire has a past they had to rise above. Nobody becomes great without first becoming uncomfortable with who they used to be. Your past is not proof that you can't win. It's proof that you survived. You are still here, still here. You are still breathing. You are still thinking about becoming better. That alone disqualifies the idea that it's too late for you. If the past truly had power over your future, you wouldn't feel this inner pull to do more, to be more, to change. That desire is not random. It's evidence that your story is still being written. The danger of living in the past is that it slowly convinces you that growth is unrealistic. You start saying things like, that's just how I am. Or people like me don't make it. I already messed up too much. Those statements sound harmless, but they are quiet agreements with limitation. They turn temporary experiences into permanent conclusions. And once you accept those conclusions, you stop trying. You stop dreaming. You stop pushing. Not because you can't succeed, but because you believe you're not allowed to. Let me tell you something clearly. Life does not disqualify people. People disqualify themselves. Opportunities don't disappear because of your past. They disappear because you stop reaching for them. Potential doesn't die because of mistakes. It dies because of surrender. The past only has the power you continue to feed it. Every time you replay old failures, you strengthen them. Every time you remind yourself of who you were instead of who you're becoming, you slow your own progress. There are people who did worse than you and still rebuilt their lives. There are people who started later than you and still achieved more. There are people who fell harder than you and still stood back up stronger. The difference is not talent or luck, it's interpretation. They looked at their past and said, this will not control me. They refused to let old chapters cancel new ones. They understood that growth is not about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about refusing to let it decide what happens next. Your past is a teacher, not a judge. It exists to give you wisdom, not a verdict. When you treat it like a prison, you stay locked inside it. When you treat it like a lesson, you use it to move forward with clarity. Pain teaches you boundary. Failure teaches you strategy. Loss teaches you value. Struggle teaches you resilience. Nothing you went through was wasted unless you refuse to learn from it. One of the hardest things to do is forgive yourself. You expect grace from the world, but deny it to yourself. You want a fresh start, but you keep reminding yourself of old endings. Self-forgiveness is not ignoring responsibility, it's releasing shame. It's saying, I acknowledge what happened, but I refuse to live as if that moment defines my worth. Until you forgive yourself, every success will feel temporary, and every setback will feel deserved. Freedom begins when you let yourself move on. Some of you are afraid to try again, because failing again will confirm your worst fears. But hear this, staying stuck is a bigger failure than trying and falling. At least when you try, you grow. At least when you try, you learn. At least when you try, you move forward. Fear keeps you frozen, but action rewrites identity. You don't become confident by waiting. You become confident by doing hard things repeatedly. Confidence is built through evidence, and evidence comes from effort. You are not behind in life. You are on your own timeline. Comparing your progress to someone else's chapter will always make you feel inadequate. You didn't start where they started. You didn't face what they faced. Your journey has been different, and that difference does not make it inferior. It makes it yours. Progress is not measured by speed. It's measured by direction. If you are moving forward even slowly, you are winning. There's a version of you that exists beyond your past, but you have to be brave enough to meet them. That version is disciplined where you were distracted, focused where you were scattered, intentional where you were reactive. That version is not imaginary. It is built one decision at a time. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you step closer to that version. Every time you choose responsibility over excuses, you close the gap between who you were and who you're becoming. Your past may explain why some things are harder for you, but it does not excuse giving up. Healing takes time, and growth is not linear. Some days you will feel strong, and some days old memories will resurface. That does not mean you are failing. It means you are human. Progress is not about never looking back. It's about not living there. You can acknowledge where you came from without returning to it emotionally. Stop telling yourself you missed your chance. As long as you are alive, chances still exist. Life is generous to those who are willing to start again with humility and determination. Starting over is not weakness, it's courage. It takes strength to admit you want more. It takes discipline to change patterns. It takes belief to try again after disappointment. But the reward is a life that finally aligns with your potential. The past tries to disqualify you by whispering lies. It says you're too broken, too late, too flawed, too inconsistent. But growth speaks louder when you act. Every day you show up, those lies weaken. Every day you choose better habits, those lies lose authority. Identity is not built by what you did years ago, it's built by what you consistently do now. You are allowed to outgrow old versions of yourself. You are allowed to change your mind, your habits, your goals, and your direction. You do not owe loyalty to a past that no longer represents you. People may remember who you were, but that does not mean you must stay that person. Their memory is not your assignment. Your responsibility is to become better, not to remain familiar. If your past truly disqualified you, you wouldn't still feel this urge to rise. You wouldn't still feel this discomfort with staying the same. That restlessness is not weakness, it's calling. It's your future pulling you forward, reminding you that there's more inside you waiting to be expressed. Don't ignore it. Don't silence it with excuses or fear. Listen to it and move. The strongest people are not those with perfect histories. They are those who refuse to let imperfect histories define them. They chose growth over guilt. They chose action over regret. They chose responsibility over blame. And slowly, consistently, their lives change. Not overnight, not magically, but undeniably. You don't need to erase your past to build a powerful future. You need to stop using it as a reason to stay small. Let it inform you, not imprison you. Let it sharpen you, not soften you, not soften you. Let it humble you, not paralyze you. The same experiences that once held you back can become the foundation that pushes you forward, if you let them. Today is not asking who you used to be. Today is asking who you are willing to become. Right now in this moment, you have the ability to choose differently. You can think differently. You can act differently. And with those small choices repeated daily, you can create a life that has nothing to do with your past mistakes and everything to do with your present commitment. Your past does not disqualify you. Quitting does. Settling does. Refusing to grow does. As long as you are willing to learn, willing to work, and willing to believe in change, you are still in the game. As long as you are in the game, your story is not over. Hunger changes everything because hunger is not a feeling, it is a decision. It is the moment you stop negotiating with your potential and start demanding more from yourself. Hunger is what separates people who talk about change from people who actually create it. You can have talent, intelligence, resources, and opportunity, but without hunger, none of it reaches its full potential. Hunger is the engine. Hunger is the drive. Hunger is what gets you moving when motivation fades and comfort tries to pull you back into old habits. Most people say they want success, but very few people are truly hungry for it. They want it if it's easy. They want it if it doesn't require sacrifice. They want it as long as it doesn't disrupt their comfort. But hunger doesn't ask for convenience. Hunger doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Hunger wakes you up early and keeps you up late because something inside you refuses to settle for average. When you're hungry, excuses sound weak. The same reasons that once stopped you suddenly don't matter anymore. Hunger changes the way you see time. When you're not hungry, you waste time without guilt. You scroll, you delay, you procrastinate, and you tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. But when hunger kicks in, every hour matters. Every day feels valuable. You start protecting your time because you finally understand that time as the most expensive currency you have. You stop giving it to people, habits, and distractions that don't move you forward. Hunger makes you intentional. When you're hungry, comfort becomes uncomfortable. The life you used to tolerate starts to bother you. The excuses you used to repeat start to irritate you. You can't sit still anymore because staying the same feels more painful than changing. Hunger creates dissatisfaction, but not the kind that destroys you, the kind that pushes you. The kind that pushes you. It's the internal pressure that says there has to be more than this and refuses to stay quiet. Hunger also changes how you respond to obstacles. When you're not hungry, obstacles feel like stop signs. When you are hungry, obstacles become challenges to overcome. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, how do I get through this? Problems no longer scare you. They sharpen you. Hunger teaches you to adapt, adjust, and keep moving even when the path isn't clear. There will be days when you're tired. Hunger doesn't mean you're never exhausted. It means you're willing to work through fatigue because the vision matters more than comfort. Hunger reminds you why you started when the journey feels long. It reconnects you to your purpose when progress feels slow. Without hunger, fatigue becomes an excuse to quit. With hunger, fatigue becomes part of the price you're willing to pay. Hunger changes your relationship with failure. No longer feels like humiliation. It feels like information. You don't quit because something didn't work. You learn, adjust, and try again. Hungry people don't see failure as proof that they're not good enough. They see it as proof that they're trying. They understand that failure is temporary, but quitting is permanent. Hunger keeps you in the game long enough to grow. When hunger is real, you stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison fades because your focus becomes personal growth, not external validation. You're not chasing applause, you're chasing progress. You're not competing for attention. You're competing with who you were yesterday. Hunger gives you tunnel vision. It narrows your focus and sharpens your discipline. Hunger changes your standards. You stop accepting bare minimum effort from yourself. You stop settling for half-finished goals and inconsistent habits. You start holding yourself accountable even when nobody else does. Hunger makes you honest with yourself. It forces you to confront where you've been lazy, distracted, or comfortable. And instead of making excuses, you make changes. Hunger is what pushes you to do the work that nobody sees. The early mornings, the late nights, the repetition, practice, the preparation, the grind that looks boring from the outside but builds power on the inside. Hungry people don't need constant recognition because they are fueled by something deeper. They understand that mastery is built in silence and revealed over time. There's a difference between interest and hunger. Interest says, I like this. Hunger says, I need this. Interest disappears when things get hard. Hunger intensifies. Interest looks for shortcuts. Hunger respects the process. Interest waits for motivation. Hunger creates discipline. If you're honest with yourself, many of the goals you didn't reach weren't blocked by lack of ability. They were blocked by lack of hunger. Hunger also changes how you handle sacrifice. You stop seeing sacrifice as loss and start seeing it as investment. Giving up comfort, entertainment, and distractions no longer feels painful because you understand what you're gaining in return. You're not giving things up for nothing. You're trading temporary pleasure for long-term purpose. Hungry people don't complain about what they had to give up. They focus on what they're building. When hunger is strong, criticism loses power. People will doubt you. People will misunderstand you. People will question your choices. But hunger makes their opinions irrelevant. Not because you're arrogant, but because you're focused. You know where you're going, and you don't need everyone to understand it. Hungry people listen to feedback, not noise. They learn from criticism without being controlled by it. Hunger grows when you get tired of your own excuses. It grows when you look at your life honestly and admit that you want more. It grows when staying the same starts to feel heavier than changing. Hunger is born in moments of truth when you stop lying to yourself and start taking responsibility. Responsibility fuels hunger because it gives you control. When you stop blaming circumstances, people, or the past, you reclaim your power to change. Hunger also brings clarity. You stop chasing everything and start focusing on what matters most. You say no more often. You simplify your goals. You eliminate distractions. Hunger doesn't spread you thin. It concentrates your energy. It helps you identify what deserves your effort and what doesn't. With hunger, every action has intention. There will be times when results are slow. Hunger doesn't disappear during these times. It carries you through them. Hungry people understand that growth is delayed, not denied. They trust the process even when progress is invisible. They keep showing up because hunger reminds them that consistency compounds. Small actions repeated daily eventually create massive change. Hunger changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who commits. You stop seeing discipline as punishment, and start seeing you begin to trust yourself because you keep your promises to yourself. That trust builds confidence, and that confidence fuels even more hunger. Hunger is not loud all the time. Sometimes it's quiet and steady. Sometimes it's just a calm refusal to quit. It's the voice that says, not today, when giving up feels tempting. It's the voice that says, one more rip, one more try, one more day. That quiet persistence is often more powerful than loud motivation. If you want your life to change, don't just ask for opportunities, ask for hunger. Ask for the kind of hunger that makes you uncomfortable staying where you are. Ask for the hunger that forces growth. Ask for the hunger that pushes you to learn, to improve, to stretch beyond what feels familiar. Because opportunities come and go, but hunger keeps you ready. Hunger changes everything because it changes you. It changes how you think, how you work, how you respond, and how you persist. When hunger is present, quitting is no longer an option. It's a failure of identity. You don't quit because quitting would mean betraying who you're becoming. At the end of the day, the world doesn't reward potential. It rewards those who are willing to outwork their excuses and outlast their doubts. Talent may open the door, but hunger determines how far you walk through it. If you can develop hunger, real hunger, disciplined hunger, focused hunger, your life will never be the same. Because when hunger changes you, everything around you eventually has no choice but to change too. Your environment matters more than most people are willing to admit. Because no matter how strong your intentions are, your surroundings are constantly shaping your behavior, your mindset, and your standards. You can have big dreams and good intentions, but if you stay in an environment that rewards laziness, excuses, and comfort, eventually those things will start to feel normal. Environment is not just the place you live in. It is the people you listen to, the conversations you engage in, the content you consume, and the expectations that surround you every single day. Over time, these things quietly influence who you become. Many people fail not because they lack ability, but because they stay too long in environments that pull them backward. They are trying to grow while standing in spaces that celebrate staying the same. They are trying to build discipline while surrounded by distraction. They are trying to think bigger while constantly hearing small-minded thinking. That tension wears you down. At first, you resist it. Then you tolerate it. Eventually, you adapt to it. Human beings are designed to adapt to their environment. And if you don't intentionally choose an environment that supports growth, you will unconsciously absorb one that limits it. Your environment trains your standards. If everyone around you is late, being late feels normal. If everyone around you complains, complaining feels justified. If everyone around you avoids responsibility, accountability feels uncomfortable. On the other hand, when you are around people who value excellence, discipline, and growth, mediocrity starts to feel out of place. You don't need constant motivation when your environment naturally pulls you toward higher standards. You rise or fall to the level of what is tolerated around you. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone who loves you is good for your growth. Some people care about you deeply but are attached to the version of you that feels familiar to them. Your growth threatens their comfort. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your ambition highlights their stagnation. So without malicious intent, they may discourage you, mock your efforts, or subtly pull you back toward what's familiar. That doesn't make them evil, but it does mean you have to be intentional about how much access they have to your energy and your vision. Environment affects your identity. When you stay around people who constantly remind you of who you used to be, it becomes harder to step into who you are becoming. They joke about your past, bring up old mistakes, and expect old behaviors. Over time, you start acting in ways that match their expectations rather than your potential. Growth requires space. It requires distance from environments that only recognize your past and not your future. Your physical environment matters too. Cluttered spaces create cluttered thinking. Chaotic environments make focus difficult. When your surroundings are disorganized, your mind often follows. This doesn't mean everything has to be perfect, but it does mean that intentional spaces support intentional living. Clean spaces encourage clarity. Quiet spaces encourage reflection. Structured environments support discipline. You cannot expect consistent focus in an environment built for distraction. Digital environments are just as powerful. What you watch, What you scroll through, what you listen to repeatedly shapes your thinking. If your feed is filled with negativity, drama, comparison, and hopelessness, it will slowly influence how you see the world and yourself. If your digital environment constantly celebrates shortcuts, overnight success, and unrealistic lifestyles, it can distort your expectations and make real progress feel slow or meaningless. You must curate what you consume because your mind does not filter everything automatically. It absorbs patterns. Environment also affects your belief system. When you are surrounded by people who believe in growth, possibility feels normal. When you are surrounded by people who believe in limitation, dreaming bigger feels foolish. Belief is contagious. Doubt is contagious. Fear is contagious. Courage is contagious too. The question is not whether you are being influenced. The question is by what? Many people underestimate how exhausting it is to constantly fight their environment. They rely on willpower alone, trying to stay disciplined while surrounded by temptation, negativity, and distraction. Willpower is limited. Environment is constant. The smartest strategy is not to rely on strength, but to design surroundings that make good choices easier and bad choices harder. When your environment supports your goals, discipline becomes more natural instead of forced. Sometimes growth requires separation. Not forever, not with anger, but with clarity. There are seasons where you have to step back from certain places, conversations, and relationships to protect your focus. This is not abandonment, it is alignment. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. You cannot grow in the same conditions that kept you stuck. Distance creates perspective, and perspective creates growth. Your environment also determines how you handle pressure. In supportive environments, pressure becomes motivation. In toxic environments, pressure becomes stress. When you are constantly judged, criticized, or undermined, your energy is spent defending yourself instead of building yourself. In healthy environments, feedback is constructive, accountability is mutual, and growth is encouraged. You deserve environments that challenge you without crushing you. One of the reasons change feels so hard is because people try to change internally while keeping everything externally the same. Same friends, same routines, same distractions, same conversation. Then they wonder why nothing sticks. Real change often requires environmental change. New habits need new cues. New identities need new reinforcement. You don't become a different person by repeating the same patterns in the same places with the same influences. Your environment shapes your vision of what's possible. If nobody around you has achieved what you're trying to achieve, it can feel unrealistic even if it's not. But when you see people who are disciplined, focused, and progressing, success starts to feel attainable. Representation matters. Seeing what's possible expands your imagination and raises your expectations for yourself. Environment also affects emotional regulation. Constant negativity makes optimism harder. Constant chaos makes peace harder. Constant conflict makes focus harder. You may think you are weak for feeling drained, but often it's not weakness, it's exposure. You are responding normally to an unhealthy environment. The solution is not always to push harder. Sometimes it's to change what you are pushing against. Choosing a better environment often requires courage. People may accuse you of changing, distancing yourself, or thinking you're better than others. Growth is often misunderstood by those who are not growing. But choosing an environment that supports your future is not arrogance. It is responsibility. You are not obligated to stay in places that limit you just to make others comfortable. Your environment should challenge you, not drain you. It should encourage honesty, not denial. It should reward effort, not excuses. It should make growth feel normal, not extreme. When you find or create such environment, your potential starts to unfold naturally. You don't have to force yourself to grow. You simply respond to what surrounds you. You also have the power to become part of someone else's environment. Your energy affects rooms you walk into. Your discipline influences people who watch you quietly. Your growth creates permission for others to grow. As you elevate your environment, you also elevate your impact. Responsibility goes both ways. Environment is not destiny, but it is a powerful influence. You can overcome a bad environment, but it costs more energy, time, and emotional strength. Why make growth harder than it needs to be? When you intentionally design your surroundings, physically, socially, and mentally, you give yourself an advantage. Not an unfair one, but a wise one. At some point, you must ask yourself an honest question. Is my environment helping me become who I want to be, or is it quietly keeping me where I am? That answer may be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Awareness is the first step to change. You cannot fix what you refuse to acknowledge. You deserve environments that match your vision. You deserve space where discipline is respected, effort is valued, and growth is encouraged. You deserve conversations that expand your thinking instead of shrinking it. You deserve relationships that support your evolution instead of anchoring you to the past. When your environment changes, your habits change. When your habits change, your identity changes. And when your identity changes, your life follows. Growth becomes sustainable because it is reinforced daily by what surrounds you. This is why your environment matters. Not because you are weak, but because you are human. And humans grow best in environments that support who they are becoming, not who they used to be. Execution beats intention every single time because the world does not reward what you meant to do. It rewards what you actually did. You can have the purest intentions, the biggest dreams, the smartest plans, and the most detailed strategies. But none of that changes your life until it turns into action. Intention lives in the mind, but execution lives in reality. Intention feels good. Execution feels hard. Intention gives you comfort. Execution demands commitment. And that is why so many people stay stuck. They fall in love with intention and avoid execution. Most people are full of good intentions. They intend to wake up early. They intend to work on their goals. They intend to change their habits. They intend to become better versions of themselves. But intention without execution is just self-deception dressed up as hope. It allows you to feel productive without producing anything. It gives you the illusion of progress without the discomfort of effort. Over time, this illusion becomes dangerous because it convinces you that thinking about change is the same as changing. Execution is uncomfortable because it exposes you. When you execute, there is no hiding. Your work shows, your effort shows, your consistency or lack of becomes visible. Intention keeps you safe because nobody can criticize what you never actually do. Execution puts you in the arena where mistakes are possible and failure is public. This is why fear loves intention but hates execution. Fear survives on planning, talking, and waiting. Fear dies when you take action. You don't need more motivation. You need more execution. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you feel inspired, some days you don't. But execution does not depend on how you feel. Execution is a decision. It says, I will act even when I'm tired, even when I'm uncertain, even when I'm afraid. People who win don't wait for perfect conditions. They execute in imperfect ones. They move before they feel ready because they understand that readiness is built through action, not waiting. One of the biggest traps is preparation without execution. Preparation feels responsible. Planning feels smart. Research feels productive. But there's a point where preparation becomes procrastination. You keep learning, organizing, and adjusting, not because you're not ready, but because you're afraid to start. Execution requires courage because once you start, there's no going back to comfort. Starting means committing. Starting means accountability. Execution teaches you lessons intention never can. You don't learn what works by thinking, you learn by doing. You don't build confidence by imagining success. You build it by surviving difficulty. Every action gives you feedback. Every attempt teaches you something. Even failure becomes valuable when you execute because it gives you information you can use. Intention keeps you guessing. Execution gives you clarity. People often say they are waiting for the right time, but the right time is a myth created by fear. There will always be reasons to wait. Lack of money, lack of support, lack of confidence, lack of clarity. If you wait for all conditions to be perfect, you will wait forever. Execution creates momentum, and momentum creates clarity. You figure things out as you move. You don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. Execution also builds self-trust. Every time you say you will do something and actually do it, you strengthen your belief in yourself. Every time you delay, avoid, or quit, you weaken that trust. Over time, this pattern shapes your identity. You either become someone who follows through or someone who constantly starts over. Execution is not just about results. It's about who you become in the process. Intentions are cheap because they cost nothing. Execution is expensive because it costs energy, time, focus, and comfort. That cost is exactly why execution is rare. Most people are not unwilling to dream. They are unwilling to pay the price of consistency. Execution requires showing up on ordinary days, boring days, hard days. It requires doing the same small actions repeatedly without immediate reward. This is where most people quit, not because the goal is impossible, but because the process is uncomfortable. Execution does not mean perfection. Waiting to execute until you can do it perfectly is another form of avoidance. Perfect execution is impossible at the beginning. You will make mistakes. You will look foolish. You will feel slow and inadequate. That is normal. Progress comes from imperfect action repeated consistently, not flawless performance. Execution refines itself over time. There's a difference between talking about your goals and working on them. Talking gives you social validation. Working gives you results. Be careful not to replace progress with conversation. When you talk too much about what you plan to do, you release emotional pressure that should have fueled action. Silence, on the other hand, keeps you hungry. Silent execution is powerful because it channels all your energy into results instead of approval. Execution beats intention because execution creates discipline. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build through repeated action. Every time you execute despite resistance, discipline strengthens. Over time, what once felt hard becomes normal. What once required effort becomes habit. This is how high performers are made, not through extraordinary motivation, but through ordinary execution done consistently. Execution also separates wishful thinking from commitment. Anyone can want something. Commitment is proven through behavior. When your actions align with your words, you gain credibility with yourself and others. When they don't, trust erodes. The gap between intention and execution is where self-respect is lost or built. Close that gap, and everything changes. You will never feel fully ready. Confidence comes after action, not before. Waiting for confidence is like waiting for muscles before going to the gym. You build strength by lifting, not by imagining lifting. In the same way, you build confidence by executing, not by waiting. Courage grows through movement. Execution also forces prioritization. When you act, you quickly learn what matters and what doesn't. You stop chasing everything and focus on what produces results. Execution eliminates fantasy and replaces it with reality. It grounds you. It humbles you. It sharpens you. There will be resistance. Your mind will look for reasons to stop. Your body will crave comfort. People around you may doubt you. None of that means you're on the wrong path. Resistance is often a sign that execution is working. Growth feels uncomfortable because it requires you to leave familiar territory. The discomfort is not a warning. It's a signal that you are stretching. Execution beats intention because execution compounds. Small actions done daily create massive results over time. Missed days compound too. But in the opposite direction, consistency is the multiplier. You don't need massive action once in a while. You need manageable action every day. Execution turns time into an ally instead of an enemy. The hardest part of execution is starting, but the most important part is continuing. Starting creates momentum, but continuing creates identity. Anyone can start when they feel excited. Winners continue when excitement fades. They execute on days when nothing seems to be working. They execute when progress is slow and recognition is absent. That persistence is what separates outcomes. Execution is a form of self-respect. Gives you honoring your own goals, promises, and potential. When you execute, you are telling yourself that your dreams matter enough to act on. When you don't, you send the opposite message. Over time, these messages shape how you see, how you don't need to know everything before you begin. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. You need movement. Clarity comes from action. Direction comes from experience. Mastery comes from repetition. Execution turns theory into truth. At some point, you have to stop preparing and start preparing and start with innovation and start relying on commitment. Stop talking about what you want and start doing what it takes. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with execution, not intention. Execution beats intention because execution changes your life. Intention keeps you dreaming. Execution makes those dreams real. The moment you choose action over comfort, discipline over excuses, and consistency over convenience, everything shifts, not instantly, not magically, but inevitably. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your execution. And when execution becomes your standard, not your exception, results are no longer a question. They are a consequence. This is your year, but not because the calendar changed, and not because the numbers look different. This is your year because at some point you have to decide that enough is enough. Enough waiting, enough doubting, enough living the same year on repeat and calling it life. A new year does not automatically create new you. Decision does, commitment does, ownership does. And this year is asking you a simple but uncomfortable question. Are you finally ready to take responsibility for the life you want? Or are you going to keep hoping something outside of you will change first? This year is not about luck. It's not about perfect timing. It's not about everything lining up in your favor. This year is about alignment. Your thoughts, your habits, your actions, and your standards finally moving in the same direction. Too many people say this is my year with their mouths, but their routines tell a completely different story. This year will not respond to words. It will respond to behavior. It will reward what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally. This is your year because you are tired of disappointing yourself. You're tired of disappointing yourself. You're tired of setting goals and quietly breaking promises to yourself. You're tired of knowing you could do more and still choosing comfort. That frustration you feel is not weakness. It's awareness. It's the part of you that knows you were created for more and refuses to stay silent. This year is calling for a higher standard, not a louder excuse. This is your year to stop negotiating with your potential. You've been treating discipline like an option instead of a requirement. You've been waiting to feel motivated instead of building consistency. This year demands maturity. It demands that you stop asking, do I feel like it? And start asking what needs to be done. Growth begins when feelings stop being in charge. Stop being in charge. This year will challenge you. There will be days when progress is slow, days when results are invisible, days when quitting feels reasonable. But this is your year because you've decided that quitting is no longer an option you entertain. You may rest, you may adjust, you may slow down, but you do not stop. You've learned enough from starting over. Now it's time to learn from seeing things through. This is your year to stop living in your head and start living in execution. You've planned enough, you've thought enough, you've waited enough. Action is the language this year understands. Imperfect action, uncomfortable action, action taken without guarantees. This year doesn't require you to be fearless. It requires you to move despite fear. This is your year to outgrow old versions of yourself. Some habits don't belong in your future. Some mindsets have expired. Some relationships no longer fit who you're becoming. Growth is not about adding more. Sometimes it's about letting go. Let go of excuses that once protected you, but now limit you. Let go of routines that keep you busy, but not progressing. Let go of identities that were built around survival, not purpose. This is your year to raise your standards. Not your expectations of others, your expectations of yourself. How you wake up, how you use your time, how you speak to yourself, how you respond when things don't go your way. Standards are the invisible rules that shape your life. When you raise them, everything else follows. This is your year to stop confusing movement with progress. Being busy is not the same as being effective. This year requires focus. It requires saying no to distractions that steal your time and yes to priorities that build your future. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right things consistently. This is your year to become disciplined, not extreme. Sustainable growth beats short bursts of effort. Small actions done daily will outperform big actions done occasionally. This year is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be consistent. Show up on ordinary days. Show up when nobody is watching. Show up when it feels boring. That's where real change happens. This is your year to change how you talk to yourself. The voice in your head matters. If you constantly remind yourself of your past, your mistakes, and your shortcomings, you will live like someone who expects to fail. This year, you learn to speak with intention. Honest, but not cruel. Accountable, but not condemning. The way you talk to yourself sets the tone for how you act. This is your year to stop waiting for validation. You don't need applause to be committed. You don't need approval to be disciplined. Most of the work that changes your life will happen quietly, without recognition. That's not a disadvantage. That's freedom. That's freedom. When you stop performing for others, you can finally focus on becoming who you're meant to be. This is your year to face discomfort instead of avoiding it. Growth lives on the other side of what you've been running from. Hard conversations, difficult habits, honest self-reflection. Avoidance feels good in the moment but costs you later. This year, you pay the price up front so you don't keep paying it forever. This is your year to redefine failure. Failure is not proof that you're not capable. It's proof that you're trying. The only real failure is refusing to learn. This year, you stop taking setbacks personally and start taking them seriously. You extract lessons instead of excuses. You adjust instead of quitting. This is your year to protect your energy. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your access. Where your energy goes, your life follows. This year, you become intentional about what you consume, who you listen to, and what you allow to influence your mindset. Protecting your focus is not selfish, it's strategic. This is your year to build self-trust. Confidence doesn't come from thinking positively, it comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, you strengthen your identity. Every time you don't, you weaken it. This year, you become someone you can rely on. That alone will change everything. This is your year to stop romanticizing the past and start committing to the present. The past may explain you, but it does not define you. You don't need to erase it. You need to stop living in it. This year is not asking who you were, it's asking who you are willing to become right now. This is your year to embrace responsibility. Responsibility is not blame, it's power. When you take responsibility, you regain control. You stop waiting for circumstances to change and start changing your response. This year, you own your choices, your effort, and your outcomes. This is your year to understand that motivation will not carry you. Identity will. When you see yourself as someone who finishes, someone who shows up, someone who does the work, your actions follow naturally. This year, you don't try to act differently. You commit to becoming different. This is your year to be patient with progress, but impatient with excuses. Real growth takes time, but that doesn't mean you tolerate laziness or inconsistency. You learn to distinguish between rest and avoidance, between adjustment and quitting. Maturity is knowing the difference. This is your year to stop shrinking. Stop playing small to make others comfortable. Stop underestimating what consistent effort can do. Stop acting like your dreams are unrealistic just because they require work. This year, you allow yourself to take up space in your own life. This is your year, because you've learned enough from pain, delay, and disappointment. You don't need more lessons. You need more action. You don't need more inspiration. You need more follow through. Everything you need to start already exists inside you. This year is not about becoming someone else. It's about finally becoming who you were always capable of being, one choice at a time, one habit at a time, one day at a time. This is your year, not because it will be easy, but because you are ready to do what most people won't. And if you stay committed when it's hard, disciplined when it's boring, and focused when it's uncomfortable, this year won't just be another year. It will be the year everything finally starts to change. You don't get to greatness by accident. Nobody just wakes up one day and stumbles into the light they dreamed about. What people see as overnight success is usually years of invisible work, lonely mornings, painful lessons, and uncomfortable discipline that nobody clapped for. This is the part of the journey most people don't want to talk about because it's not glamorous. It doesn't trend. It doesn't feel good in the moment. But this is where everything changes. When you decide to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Too many people are waiting to feel motivated before they move. They say, I'll start when I'm ready. I'll go hard when I feel inspired. I'll change when the timing is right. But the truth is, motivation is emotional and emotions are unstable. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. Discipline shows up when you're tired. Discipline works when you're frustrated. Discipline keeps going, the excitement is gone. If you only move when you feel good, you'll never go far. Because life is not designed to make you feel good all the time. There will be days you don't want to wake up early, days you don't want to train, days you don't want to train, days you don't want to study, days you don't want to push. But those days matter more than the days when everything feels easy. Anybody can perform when the energy is high and the crowd is cheering. The real separation happens when nobody is watching, when there's no applause, when it's just you and the decision to either stay comfortable or grow. Consistency is the real superpower. Small actions, done daily, compound into extraordinary results. People overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. They want massive change instantly. And when it doesn't happen, they quit. But life doesn't reward intensity alone. It rewards consistency. It's not about going hard once. It's about showing up again and again, even when progress feels slow. You have to learn how to keep promises to yourself. Every time you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you weaken your own trust in yourself. And once you lose trust in yourself, it's hard to believe bigger dreams are possible. But every time you do what you say you would do, especially when it's hard, you build self-respect. That self-respect becomes confidence. And confidence changes how you move, how you speak, and how you see yourself. Stop negotiating with your excuses. Excuses sound reasonable, but they're expensive. They cost you time. They cost you growth. They cost you the life you could have lived. Nobody is coming to save you from your excuses. At some point, you have to stand up and say enough and say enough. Enough waiting. Enough talking. Enough planning without action. It's time to execute, even imperfectly. Progress is often uncomfortable. Growth will stretch you. Discipline will demand sacrifices. You might have to give up certain habits, certain relationships, and certain comforts that no longer align with where you're going. Not everything you like is good for you, and not everything that's good for you will feel good. Maturity is choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be consistent. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. You don't need to know everything. You just need to take the next step. Too many people are paralyzed by perfection. They want the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect conditions. But clarity comes from action, not thinking. You learn by doing. You grow by moving. When you commit to discipline, your standards rise. You stop accepting excuses from yourself. You stop settling for average. You stop tolerating habits that keep you stuck. You start holding yourself accountable, even when nobody else does. And that accountability is freedom, because it puts the power back in your hands. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You become the architect of your life. There will be setbacks. There will be moments when you fail, slip, or fall short. That doesn't mean you're done. It means you're human. The difference between winners and quitters is not failure, it's response. Winners learn, adjust, and keep going. Quitters let one bad moment define their entire future. Don't let a temporary setback make you forget the bigger vision. Your routine shapes your future. What you do daily is more important than what you do occasionally. If you want a different life, you need different habits. If you want higher results, you need higher standards. Wake up with purpose. Move your body. Feed your mind. Guard your time. These small disciplines repeated daily will build a life that most people only talk about. Understand this. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect. It's saying my dreams matter enough for me to do the work. It's choosing growth over comfort. It's choosing progress over excuses. And once you taste the results of discipline, you'll realize it was never about suffering. It was about becoming who you were meant to be. You don't need approval to be disciplined. You don't need permission to be consistent. You don't need validation to work on yourself. This journey is personal. It's between you and the future you're trying to build. Show up for that version of yourself. Do the work today that your future self will thank you for. Every single day is a vote for the person you are becoming. Vote wisely. When you don't feel like it, do it anyway. When it's hard, lean in. When it's uncomfortable, stay with it. Because discipline today creates freedom tomorrow. And consistency today turns possibility into reality. Pain is not your enemy, but most people treat it like it is. They avoid it, run from it, and try to numb it. thinking that comfort equals progress. But pain is not a punishment. Pain is a signal. Pain is a message. Pain is the universe's way of showing you where growth is required, where limits are being tested, and where you have more potential than you think. The moment you stop fearing pain and start listening to it, everything changes. Because pain doesn't destroy you, it refines you. It refines you. It teaches you, shapes you, and prepares you for levels you cannot reach without it. Too many people in life waste energy running from discomfort. They choose the easy path, the path of least resistance, and then wonder why they stay in the same place year after year. Life is not designed to be easy. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. Growth is uncomfortable. Transformation is painful. And success often feels impossible until you walk through the fire of struggle. Pain is not proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're trying. That's proof that you're trying. It's proof that you're stretching beyond what's familiar. It's proof that you are alive by and striving. The first lesson pain teaches is awareness. When you feel hurt, when you feel challenged, it forces you to pay attention. It stops you from coasting. It makes you notice the areas of your life where you've been lazy, distracted, or avoiding responsibility. Pain doesn't always feel good in the moment, but it wakes you up. It removes illusions. It forces clarity. You can ignore discomfort for a while, but eventually it demands acknowledgement. And once you acknowledge it, you can begin to learn from it. Pain teaches resilience. Nobody builds strength without it. Your muscles, your mind, your character, all of these grow under tension. The same way lifting weights tears fibers that then rebuild stronger. Life's difficulties tear your comfort zone, your ego, your assumptions, and your patience. And when you endure, adapt, and persist, you rebuild yourself stronger, wiser, and more capable. Every time you push through discomfort, you prove to yourself that you are bigger than your circumstance. Pain is the gym where character is trained. Pain teaches patience. Most people give up because they want quick fixes, instant results, and immediate relief. But growth doesn't work that way. Transformation takes time, effort, and repeated exposure to challenge. Pain is a reminder that meaningful change is a process, not a moment. It forces you to slow down, reflect, and persist. If you run from pain, you also run from the lessons it carries. If you endure pain, you gain understanding, insight, and stamina. Patience not learned in comfort, it is forged in struggle. Pain teaches humility. When life knocks you down, pride takes it, ego gets bruised. Control feels like it's slipping away. But that is the moment to learn the truth. You are human, you are vulnerable, and you do not have all the answers. Humility does not make you weak. It makes you teachable. It opens your mind to learning, your heart to growth, and your perspective to new possibilities. Those who reject humility often reject the lessons pain tries to give them. Pain teaches focus. When everything is easy, distraction feels harmless. But when life becomes difficult, you realize what truly matters. Pain forces you to evaluate your priorities. It strips away superficial concerns and leaves only what is essential. The more you embrace the lessons in pain, the clearer your vision becomes. You stop wasting energy on things that don't contribute to your growth, and you start channeling every ounce of effort into the areas that do. Pain teaches courage. It's easy to be brave when everything is safe, when there are no consequences, when comfort is guaranteed. True courage is born in adversity. True courage is taking the next step when your legs shake, when your heart pounds, when doubt screams louder than confidence. Every time you face pain head on, you build courage. Every time you refuse to quit despite discomfort, you become stronger. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the ability to act in spite of it. Pain teaches gratitude. Most people only appreciate comfort because they have known discomfort. The nights you've stayed awake worrying, the losses you've endured, the setbacks that crushed you, they all teach you to value the moments of ease and triumph. Pain reminds you that every victory is meaningful, every breakthrough is earned, every small success matters. Without pain, gratitude is shallow. With pain, gratitude becomes deep, genuine, and transformative. Pain teaches self-reliance. When life is easy, it's tempting to rely on others for support, validation, and answers. But pain often isolates you. It forces you to find strength within. It teaches you that you are capable, that you can endure, and that you can solve problems even when nobody is watching. Self-reliance is not about being alone. It's about discovering that you are enough. Pain shows you the limits of others and the depth of your own capacity. Pain teaches perseverance. Most people quit at the first sign of difficulty. They stop when the path is unclear, when results are slow, or when obstacles appear. Pain separates those who are committed from those who are casual. Here's the filter that shows who will continue despite setback. Those who embrace the lessons of pain develop perseverance. They keep moving, adjusting and fighting until they reach their goals. Pain does not make quitting optional. It makes persistence necessary. Pain teaches perspective. When you've experienced loss, failure, or hardship, you begin to understand what really matters. You stop sweating small things. You stop complaining about minor inconveniences. You begin to see life in a broader context. Pain reshapes your priorities, helping you focus on growth, relationships, purpose, and contribution. Those who have never experienced real pain often fail to see the significance of these things. Pain gives depth, understanding, and wisdom. Pain teaches discipline. Comfort breeds laziness. Pain demands action. When things get hard, only discipline carries you forward. Discipline is developed in moments of discomfort and times when quitting would be easy and when motivation has disappeared. Each time you respond to pain with deliberate action, you strengthen the muscle of self-control. Discipline is learned by doing what is hard, not by doing what is easy. Pain teaches problem solving. When life hurts, you are forced to think differently, to innovate and to adapt. Pain challenges your assumptions and pushes you to find solutions you might never have considered in comfort. Every obstacle is an opportunity to learn, grow, and improve. The more you embrace pain, the more capable you become at navigating challenges, uncertainty, and change. Pain makes you smarter, sharper, and more strategic. Pain teaches empathy. Those who have suffered understand the struggles of others. Pain opens your heart to compassion, kindness, and understanding. It allows you to connect with people in ways that comfort never could. When you have walked through hardship, you see the humanity in everyone. Empathy is not taught in easy times. It is cultivated in struggle. Pain softens hearts and strengthens characters simultaneously. Pain teaches resilience not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Life will knock you down again and again. It's inevitable. But each time you recover, each time you push forward, you become more resilient. Start to understand that setbacks are temporary. That endurance is possible and that your capacity for recovery is greater than you imagine. Resilience is not developed in the absence of struggle. It is forged in it. Pain teaches patience with others. When you've experienced difficulty, you become less judgmental of those who struggle. You recognize that growth takes time, that change is uncomfortable, and that everyone is fighting battles you may not see. Pain cultivates humility, empathy, and patience in how you deal with others. You become a teacher, a mentor, and a guide because you know firsthand what it takes to endure. Pain teaches timing. Life often forces you to slow down, to wait, and to reconsider your approach. Patience is a byproduct of pain because you learn that rushing leads to mistakes, setbacks, and frustration. Pain teaches you to act strategically, to prepare, and to be deliberate. It teaches you that growth and success are processes, not events. Those who rush without enduring hardship often fail to develop the patience required for long-term achievement. Pain teaches gratitude for the journey. Most people only celebrate the destination. But the truth is, the journey, the struggle, the discomfort, the failure is what shapes you. Pain reminds you to value progress, to honor effort, and to acknowledge growth even when results are delayed. Every hardship endured is a lesson learned, a muscle strengthened, and a character refined. Gratitude is not just for the good times. It is especially for the difficult times that made you who you are. Pain teaches humility and success. When you struggle, when you've experienced loss, when you fought your way through obstacles, you understand that no achievement is guaranteed. You celebrate victories without arrogance because you remember the hard work, the setbacks, and the sacrifices that led to them. Pain ensures that when success comes, it is appreciated, respected, and never taken for granted. Pain teaches strategy. Life doesn't just throw obstacles in your path to test you randomly. Every challenge is an opportunity to refine your approach. When you are in discomfort, You are forced to think, plan, and act differently. You learn what works, what doesn't, and how to navigate complexity. Pain trains your mind to be tactical, resilient, and solution-oriented. Those who avoid pain often remain untested, unrefined, and unprepared. Pain teaches honesty. When things hurt, you cannot lie to yourself. You are forced to confront your choices, your habits, and your accountability. Pain exposes weaknesses you might otherwise ignore. It challenges you to face the truth about your effort, your focus, and your responsibility. Those who embrace pain grow in self-awareness. Those who avoid it remain blind to their own limitations. Pain teaches perseverance and long-term vision. When you endure discomfort, you learn that success is rarely immediate. Big goals, meaningful accomplishments, and transformational change all require persistence through pain. Every obstacle is part of the preparation. Every difficulty is part of the curriculum. Those who quit early never learn the discipline, endurance, or resilience required for greatness. Pain teaches flexibility. Nothing in life ever goes exactly as planned. Pain forces you to adapt, to pivot, and to rethink strategies. It trains you to be nimble in the face of adversity. Flexibility is not weakness. It is strength. The ability to adjust while maintaining focus on your vision is what separates those who succeed from those who fail. Pain is a tutor that teaches adaptability. Pain teaches focus on what matters most. When everything is difficult, distractions fall away. Comfort fades, superficial concerns disappear. Pain forces you to prioritize, to evaluate, and to invest your energy where it counts. You start to understand the difference between urgency and importance, between effort that produces results and effort that wastes time. Pain sharpens your vision and eliminates noise. Pain teaches leadership. Those who have endured hardship are better equipped to guide, mentor, and inspire others. Leadership is not about comfort. It is about facing challenges, making decisions under pressure, and showing resilience in adversity. Pain prepares you to lead by example because you have experienced struggle firsthand. You gain credibility, empathy, and authority that cannot be taught in comfort. Pain teaches self-reliance and independence. When life hurts, you learn to depend on yourself. You realize that nobody owes you understanding, support, or solution. You discover that your power lies within your ability to respond, adapt, and persist. Pain builds internal strength that becomes the foundation for confidence, courage, and autonomy. Pain teaches perspective on fear. When you endured hardship, fear loses its power. You realize that discomfort, struggle, and temporary suffering are not the end. They are the process. Pain desensitizes you to fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of difficulty. Once you walk through fire, future challenges feel smaller. Pain builds bravery, not by removing fear, but by teaching you how to move through it. Pain teaches the value of persistence. When every easy option has been exhausted, when shortcuts fail, when motivation fades, persistence carries you. Pain forces you to keep moving, to try again, to push past doubt and exhaustion. This is how mastery is achieved, how excellence is earned, and how dreams are realized. Without enduring discomfort, persistence never grows. Pain teaches accountability. It reminds you that you are responsible for your actions, your choices, and your growth. You can blame circumstances, others, or luck, but pain exposes the truth. You are in control of how you respond. Those who take responsibility in the face of pain develop resilience, strategy, and authority over their own lives. Pain teaches vision. It forces you to look beyond the present discomfort to the outcome you are building. It trains you to endure short-term struggles for long-term rewards. Those who can see the future while enduring the present gain clarity, patience, and determination. Pain ensures that your vision is tested, refined, and strengthened before it becomes reality. Pain teaches that results are earned. Nothing meaningful comes without struggle. Easy victories are shallow. Deep, lasting success is forged in difficulty. Pain is the currency you pay for excellence. Every discomfort, setback, and challenge is a deposit in the bank of your growth. The more you endure wisely, the greater the return. Pain teaches courage, humility, focus, discipline, patience, and gratitude all at once. It is the most honest teacher because it does not sugarcoat, it does not lie, and it does not negotiate. It forces confrontation with reality, self, and circumstance. Those who embrace pain embrace growth. Those who avoid pain embrace stagnation. Pain is unavoidable, but suffering is optional. Suffering is resisting what is. Suffering is denying the lesson, the opportunity, and the transformation hidden in discomfort. Those who resist pain prolong struggle. Those who learn from it accelerate growth. This is the distinction between people who achieve and people who plateau. Pain is neutral. Your response determines the outcome. Pain teaches you that your potential is greater than your comfort zone. You cannot expand without stretching. You cannot grow without pressure. You cannot achieve without difficulty. Every challenge, setback, and hardship is a signal that there is more available to you than you have yet claimed. Pain is the doorway. You must choose to walk through it. Pain teaches endurance, strategy, focus, humility, patience, leadership, perspective, courage, accountability, and vision simultaneously. It is the ultimate teacher, the invisible coach, and the silent mentor. Those who refuse its lessons remain stagnant. Those who embrace its challenges become unstoppable. Pain is not permanent, it is temporary, but the lessons it gives last a lifetime. Every scar, every struggle, every tear is a teacher in disguise. And when you finally understand that pain is not your enemy, you stop running, you stop avoiding, stop fearing. You start listening, learning, and applying. You start growing faster than you ever imagined. Pain becomes your ally. Pain becomes your guide. Pain becomes your teacher. Those who master the lessons of pain understand the difficulties of today are investments in the strength of tomorrow. Every discomfort endured builds resilience. Every setback overcome builds courage. Every failure navigated builds wisdom. Pain is the tuition you pay for greatness. You may not enjoy it, but you will never regret it. The strongest people, the most successful, the most resilient, they all have one thing in common. They learned from pain. They didn't hide. They didn't complain endlessly. They didn't waste it. They absorbed it, adapted to it, and allowed it to transform them. Pain sharpened their vision, strengthened their resolve, and shaped their identity. Pain is not a curse. It is the furnace in which extraordinary lives are forged. Pain is inevitable. Life will always challenge you. Circumstances will always demand more than you think you can give. But suffering is a choice. Avoidance is a choice. Weakness is a choice. Growth, endurance, and transformation are also choices. Every moment you decide whether pain will break you or teach you, whether struggle will defeat you or strengthen you. Those who choose to learn from pain never walk the same path twice. Pain is the ultimate motivator because it reminds you of what is at stake, what you value, and what you are capable of enduring. It separates dreamers from doers, excuses from effort, and intention from execution. Pain shows you the price of greatness, and it gives you the opportunity to pay it willingly. Those who embrace it reap rewards beyond imagination. Pain teaches more than textbooks, mentors, or lectures ever could. Pain teaches the truth about yourself. It exposes character, values, and limits. It reveals priorities, purpose, and perseverance. Pain is honest because it does not lie, negotiate, or sugarcoat. If you embrace it, you cannot remain the same. You will be stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. Pain is inevitable. Growth is optional. This is the choice every person faces. The lesson is clear. When you stop fearing pain, when you stop running from it, when you start learning from it, you unlock your true potential. Pain is not an obstacle. It is the teacher you didn't know you needed. Pain is not a curse. It is the secret to strength. Pain is not the end, it is the beginning. Now, as we come to the close of this message, I want you to realize something essential. None of the things we've talked about, belief, hunger, pain, discipline, execution, environment, your past, what is being your year, matter if you don't internalize them and apply. Inspiration alone is fleeting. Motivation alone is temporary. Words alone do not change lives. What changes lives is action. What changes lives is the relentless decision to take ownership of your destiny. Every single day, this is the moment where you must stop hearing and start doing Where you must stop wishing and start acting. Where you must stop hoping and start grinding. You cannot postpone this. You cannot delegate this. You cannot wait for someone else to make it happen. The only person responsible for the life you want is sitting in that mirror, looking back at you right now. That's it. That's the truth. And here's the most critical point. It will not be easy. If you think that embracing everything we discussed will be a walk in the park, you are mistaken. You are going to face resistance, internal resistance, external resistance, emotional resistance, financial resistance, physical resistance, mental resistance, and even resistance from the people around you. Life will test you in ways you cannot predict. Pain will rise up. Distractions will try to pull you off course. Doubt will whisper lies in your ear. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not the absence of challenges. It's the response to them. Success comes to those who decide that no obstacle is large enough, no setback is permanent, no criticism is powerful enough, and no fear is strong enough to stop them. You must decide to become unstoppable, and that decision is made in the smallest moments. When you choose effort over comfort, action over procrastination, and discipline over excuses. Belief is the foundation. If you do not truly believe in yourself, your dreams, and your ability to overcome, nothing else matters. Everything starts with that inner certainty that you are capable, that you are worthy, that your purpose is valid, and that you have the power to create your future. Some people will try to convince you otherwise. Some days you will feel weak. Some nights you will wonder if it's even possible. But belief is the force that carries you through those moments. It is the unwavering commitment to your vision. Even when the world says no, even when the odds are stacked against you, even when everything around you seems impossible. Believe with such intensity that the universe has no choice but to respond to your faith. Your past does not disqualify you. Let me say that again. Your past does not disqualify you. All the mistakes, all the failures, all the times you were too afraid, too late, too weak, or too distracted. None of that defines the rest of your life unless you allow it to. Your past is a reference point, not a prison. You can learn from it, grow from it, and use it as fuel, but it cannot dictate your future. Stop apologizing for your history, stop hiding from it, and stop letting it excuse stagnation. Your greatness is not measured by the hand you were dealt yesterday. It is measured by the decisions you make today. Every choice, every action, every moment is an opportunity to rewrite the story. Hunger changes everything. Hunger is what separates ordinary from extraordinary. Hunger is what keeps you awake when others are sleeping, what keeps you grinding when others are resting, what keeps you moving when others are stuck. Hunger is not just about wanting. It's about willingness, sacrifice, and relentless pursuit. Hunger makes pain bearable because you know there is a purpose beyond discomfort. Hunger keeps you disciplined because you are willing to pay the price that others refuse to pay. Hunger is what transforms dreams from ideas into reality. You must be hungry in a way that cannot be ignored, that cannot be satisfied by mediocrity, and that cannot be quieted by excuses. Hunger is the engine. Action is the fuel. Your environment matters. You cannot grow in a place that does not support your growth. You cannot thrive among people who do not believe in your potential. You cannot excel if your surroundings are filled with negativity, complacency, and doubt. The energy around you shapes your mindset, your confidence, and your decisions. Choose carefully where you spend your time. Choose carefully who you allow to influence your thoughts. Choose carefully the media, the information, and the conversations you consume. Environment is not destiny, but it is the lever that can accelerate or hinder your progress. Surround yourself with excellence, ambition, positivity, and accountability, and watch your life transform. Execution beats intent. Saying you want something is easy. Talking about what you plan to do is comfortable. Planning, hoping, and waiting feels productive, but is meaningless without action. Results are created by execution, not ideas. Every great accomplishment, every life-changing breakthrough, every legendary story has one thing in common: action. People who succeed are not those who thought more, who planned more, or who wished more. They are the ones who did more. They acted when it was inconvenient. They acted when they were afraid. They acted when motivation was gone. Execution is the bridge between dreams and reality. Commit to action, and your life will start moving forward. Discipline is the backbone of progress. Talent without discipline is wasted potential. Passion without discipline is chaotic energy. Discipline is what allows you to consistently show up, even on days when you don't feel like it. Discipline is what gives structure to ambition and channels energy into results. Discipline is what makes you reliable in a world full of inconsistency. Discipline is what creates habits that compound into success over time. This year, this moment, this opportunity requires you to build that discipline. Start small if you must, but start. Repetition creates muscle. Repetition creates momentum. Repetition creates mastery. Pain is your teacher. Every obstacle, every failure, every setback, every rejection is a lesson disguised as suffering. Pain is uncomfortable, yes, but discomfort is the currency of growth. You will not evolve without it. You will not discover your strength without it. You will not understand your limits until they are tested. Pain is not permanent. The lessons you extract from it, however, last a lifetime. If you learn from your struggles, if you embrace them instead of resisting them, you will become unshakable, unbreakable, and unstoppable. Pain is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. This is your year, not because the calendar changed, not because circumstances suddenly favor you, not because someone else promised you opportunity. This is your year because you decided it. You decide to stop settling. You decide to stop waiting. You decide to stop allowing fear, doubt, or failure to hold you hostage. You decide to become the person who shows up, works hard, sacrifices, executes, endures, and refuses to quit. You decide that you are worthy of greatness. You decide that you will not let another year go by without leaving your mark on the world. This is your year because you choose it, not because anyone else gives it to you. Take responsibility for your life. Stop blaming others. Stop waiting for permission. Stop asking for validation. The world does not owe you your dreams, and the only person who can bring them to life is you. You must be willing to take ownership of your decisions, your actions, your habits, and your mindset. No one else can do the work for you. The victories, the breakthroughs, the results, you must earn them. Responsibility is not a burden. It is freedom. It is the key that unlocks your potential. Stop procrastinating. Stop delaying. Stop allowing comfort to dictate your pace. Every moment you waste is a moment someone else uses to advance. Every excuse you make is an opportunity someone else seizes. Time does not wait for you, and neither does success. The only thing you control is the action you take right now. If you want results, you must act. If you want transformation, you must commit. If you want to win, you must move. Delay is the enemy of progress. You will face fear. Fear is inevitable. Fear will whisper that you are not ready, not capable, not deserving. Fear will challenge you. But here is the truth. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting in spite of it. Fear is temporary. Regret is permanent. Do not let fear dictate your story. Let it motivate you. Let it sharpen you. Let it push you forward instead of holding you back. Fear is a signal that you are about to grow. Lean into it. Execute through it. Master it. Commit to excellence. Do not settle for mediocrity. Do not accept a good enough when greatness is possible. Every task, every project, every interaction is an opportunity to show your best self. Excellence is a habit, not an event. It is a mindset, not a gift. Excellence requires attention to detail, relentless effort, and unwavering persistence. Make excellence your standard, and everything else will adjust to that standard. Learn from failure. Do not fear it. Do not avoid it. Do not pretend it does not exist. Failure is feedback. Failure is a stepping stone. Failure is an opportunity to recalibrate, refine, and improve. Every successful person has failed more than most people even try. The difference is that they did not quit. They did not allow failure to define them. They allowed it to teach them. They allowed it to fuel them. Value the journey, not just the destination. Life is made up of countless small moments, choices, and actions. If you only chase the end goal, you miss the process that creates greatness. Every challenge, every struggle, every setback, every victory along the way matters. Embrace the journey. Learn from it, grow through it. Celebrate the small wins as fuel for the bigger battles ahead. Surround yourself with people who elevate you. Your environment matters more than you realize. Those who are negative, complacent, or doubtful will slow your progress. Those who are ambitious, supportive, and disciplined will propel you forward. Choose carefully who you allow in your inner circle. Their energy, mindset, and standard will influence your own more than you know. Seek mentorship. Seek accountability. Seek collaboration among those who demand your best. Finally, understand this. Success is not given. It is earned. Your dreams will not come to you because you hope, wish, or pray. They will come to you because you show up, execute, endure, and refuse to quit. Your greatness will not arrive because circumstances are perfect. They will arrive because you make them perfect through your action, persistence, and resilience. Your legacy will not be determined by luck. It will be determined by effort, discipline, and courage. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your year. Step into it fully. Believe in yourself. Work relentlessly. Endure pain. Execute relentlessly. Commit to discipline. Learn from failure. Value the journey. Surround yourself with excellence. Take responsibility. Face fear. Persist when it's hard. And never ever settle for anything less than what you were created to achieve. Everything we've talked about, every lesson, every principle, every key point, it all comes down to this simple truth. Greatness is not for the faint-hearted, the comfortable, or the undecided. Greatness is for those who fight for it, sweat for it, bleed for it, and refuse to stop until it is theirs. You have the potential. You have the capacity. You have the ability. But potential without action is wasted. Dreams without execution are meaningless. Goals without persistence are empty. Your time is now, and the choice is yours. Do not wait for tomorrow. Do not wait for a better time. Do not wait for someone to approve, assist, or acknowledge you. The only approval you need is your own. The only path forward is the one you create. The only life worth living is the one you claim for yourself. Every second, every decision, every action matters. Every day is a vote for the person you are becoming. Make your votes count. Make your choices intentional. Make your life extraordinary. Step forward, commit, execute, endure, persist, rise, and make this year, this moment, this life, everything you've ever imagined and more. The world is waiting for the greatness that only you can deliver. Do not hold back. Do not compromise. Do not hesitate. Your time is now. This is your year.